Welcome back, everyone. I'm Shiva Agarwal. I lead Government Blockchain Association in Europe. Let me start this by thanking Gerard and Jovan for their thought leadership and support with respect to reactivating the chapters in Europe. Obviously, I think when we talk about GBA, it's a US based organization in the sense like the inception was in US, and then that is where we have created a lot of value in US, right? But then obviously I think as a regional leader, my responsibility is to basically replicate the success stories that we have in US to other part of the world, especially Europe. And with that basically post pandemic, what we are trying to do is, as we have been talking about this in our last discussions as well, that we are trying to basically reactivate the chapters, right? Because obviously when pandemic hit us, we went online, and then we were doing everything virtually. But since GBA is very meter focused, where we want people to meet physically, and then we want basically to engage with the local leadership with respect to the governments, with respect to the public organizations, and we want to basically create a footprint of GBA in specific regions, countries, and cities. So with that thought process, we have been working for past few months to basically revisit all the existing chapters that we had in Europe. So when I think last year we had around 15-20 chapters, but obviously because of pandemic, I think most of them became dormant, and then most of us started meeting virtually, right? And then now what we have done in the last 2-3 months, we have started revisiting every chapter, talking to their local leadership to make sure that we are able to provide the relevant support so that we can reactivate the chapter and we can start recreating the value. And with that, we have a few chapters which are now actively operating, and some of them are mentioned here. So we have United Kingdom, Germany, Spain, France, and Ireland. And then United Kingdom is one of the oldest chapters in Europe. And obviously I think the Brexit has happened, but we still consider UK under Europe. And then what has happened is, like, very recently we have a change in the leadership. Earlier I was leading UK, but now it has been handed over to Priya Guliani. And then we have a Germany chapter which is led by Professor Jörg Molt. We have Spanish chapter which is led by Ismail Arribas. We have a very new we have actually reactivated France chapter. Initially it was led by some other person, but now very recently we have onboarded Olivier Bozard. He's a very he comes with a very strong credential, and he is now picking up the role of chapter president as we are speaking. And then finally we have the Ireland chapter, which is again led by Gillian Gottsell, who's a dear friend of mine. And then she basically joined GBA almost a year back, but again, that the chapter did not fly at that point in time. But now we are back with a bank. And then we are in the process of going through the list and activating the other chapters. We have certain new chapters that have been basically are in the process of being onboarded, like Switzerland, Netherlands, Turkey, Ukraine, and Israel. And there are a lot of other chapter applications which are in the pipeline, which are yet to go through. We do have certain working groups which are led by the European team. For example, the Sustainable Environmental Stewardship, which is led by Priya Guliani. We have the Education and Training Working Group, which is led by Professor Yog. We have the International Trade Working Group, which is led by Juan Cabrera. And then we have the Identity Management Working Group, which is led by Shiva Agarwal. But now again, we are transitioning the leadership to a different individual. We are also doing very actively, we are doing certain events, because obviously during the pandemic, everything was virtual. And then we took the opportunity to basically bring people from all over the world to basically meet each other, discuss certain topics of interest. And then with that thought process, very recently, we to kick off the opening of Europe, we basically conducted a Europe blockchain roundtable, which was attended by all the chapter leaders of Europe, and with audience from all over the world. And it was a very successful, but it was an initial engagement. But we want to do this on a regular basis. So we want to basically do this roundtable in every quarter, so that we can invite leaders from the government as well as the public organizations to basically come and meet with us and discuss the relevant topics. And similarly, we are going to keep organizing other events as well with certain topics of interest, like identity, blockchain in general. Uh, this is one special program. I think some of you might already know about this, that we are going to basically launch a global GBA global citizenship program. But what we have decided is like we would do an official launch during the government blockchain week in US capital. But for now, this is more of a teaser in the sense like we are working on this program, and then the purpose of global citizenship program is about creating a program which is more inclusive, which aligns with the GBA's mission of creating a fabric of people, technology, interwoven with equality, equity, and integrity. And then we are going to basically invite people to basically become GBA citizens who are ethical and passionate. And then we would provide them access to knowledge, global network, and unprecedented thought leaders, thought leadership. And then obviously there would be other benefits from within the GBA ecosystem, but that is something which we are working on. And then this entire program would be powered by a self-sovereign identity with the GBA's partner authority. And then it's about basically and then this aligns with the theme of today's event also, right? It's about liberty for all. But if you want to basically bring equality and liberty to for everyone, we have to ensure that everybody has an identity which they can basically use to get access to basic amenities, basic services, which can basically help us drive social and financial inclusion. So this is a quick update from my end. And with that, I want to take this opportunity to basically ask some of our European chapter leaders to come on the stage and share their updates. So let's go to Priya first. Priya, do you want to unmute yourself and talk about it?
Sure. Thank you, Shiv. Hello, everyone. I'm Priya Guliani, and of course, beyond thrilled to be here today. I joined GBA in 2019 as a member and have grown into the organization from leading operations at UK and now being the UK president. The trust and love I've received from GBA is beyond incomprehensible. I'll cover some of the updates from GBA UK. The UK is hosting the 26th UN Climate Change Conference of the Parties called COP26 at the Scottish Event Campus in Glasgow in November this year. We've submitted an expression of interest to participate in COP26. The all-party parliamentary group launched APPG for blockchain to discuss and assess the innovative solutions developed using this technology. Our UK members are very active in the group and assist in the meetings. We're working very closely with the Department of International Trade in various countries to grow UK as well as GBA footprint. We've been invited to the events hosted by DIT. Our team members here lead multiple working groups, as Shiv already mentioned, the Identity Working Group, the International Trade Group, and the Sustainable Environmental Stewardship Working Group, to name a few. We've also worked with a foundation called Bridge India to provide entrepreneurship mentoring to a delegation from India. We host regular events and are invited to numerous events to share our stance on technology as well as the industry. I was invited for an interview by Oxford University and just yesterday by Thunderbird School of Management, Arizona. I think 2020 has been a year of turbulence, so seismic in scale and rapid impact that the world is still computing the effects. And we at GBA UK also witnessed some very dear members falling sick, being inactive for the quest of survival and recovery. Now, as most of us get vaccinated, we look forward to doing our regular meetups again and capitalizing on some of the key opportunities that have come in our way in last few months. Finally, I would also like to cover updates from Sustainable Environmental Stewardship Working Group just now, so I don't take over the rest of the meeting. SES was started early this year, and all the members have since become a family. The purpose of the group is to fuel innovative solutions that have a positive impact on environment and the planet. We have since written 2 unsuccessful grant applications, done 4 knowledge sessions on sustainability, including one with guest speakers from Dubai, and have voiced our opinion on the infamous documentary on Netflix, The Sea's Piracy, which paints the whole seafood industry with a tainted brush and certainly does a huge disservice to the people who truly want to make a positive impact on our oceans. Going forward, we want to publish regular articles around some of the issues that are now being raised with respect to blockchain as well as cryptocurrencies. I think that's about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Priya. Ismail, are you there?
Yes, hello. Do you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, it's my pleasure being with all of you and express well my fortress for the GBA community. I joined in 2017 at the end of 2017, and my fortress is standards. I am pushing strongly the standardization development organizations in the world, not only in ISO TC307 but also in the European Standards Telecommunication Institute. And right now I am the chair for blockchain in the task working group at the European Observatory for Standardization of ICT. My effort in the community of the GBA under the leadership of Shiv and our president Gerard is to support this transversal activity about the harmonization. Sometimes we tend to go to reinvent wheels, and really it's not a matter to reinvent wheels, it's a matter to provide a really harmonized standards in a universal way where everyone can be in a common community, not only just in this or other network. We need to cross-chain the networks and bridge these circumstances. And I am really defensor of that parameters in terms that the standards could help to distress all these regulatory barriers and this regulatory uncertainty. I am really focused in this space, but I am moreover a social driver, bringing different kind of approaches also from INATBA, which is the International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications. I am very well recognized in Spain and accredited expert at the International Telecommunication Union by my country. So these are the fortresses I could say that I am providing happily to our GBA family in the different sections that we are working. And well, I think Sif is doing a great job consolidating all of us. John is, Professor John is giving a lot of learnings to provide the appropriate training. And well, I am very glad to be colleague of Olivier, Gillian, and Priya, and the rest of the GBA members globally. Thank you.
Thank you, Ismail. It's a pleasure to basically have you on the team, and I think I look forward to your leadership while we are basically looking at opening Europe and creating more value across the entire landscape. Thank you. I also wanted to
Super.
have Professor Yorg on the call, but unfortunately he had a clash and he couldn't join. And with that note, I would also like to invite Jovan to say a few words because he's playing a very crucial role in basically shaping the Europe leadership and basically reactivating the chapters that we have, right? Jovan, are you there?
Shiv, can I say a couple words
Yes,
about
please, Gerard. Yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
so so I want to say just a couple words about Jorg, and then a little bit about what's happening there in Germany and some of the work that he's been doing. So Jorg has been involved in the Bitcoin cryptocurrency space, honestly, since I think before it was called Bitcoin. He was involved with you know, the cypherpunk movement, and I believe I would let him uh, uh, I'm fairly sure that he said that he's communicated with Satoshi Nakamoto back in the very early days when, you know, this was essentially like monopoly money in a little developers chat. Uh, he's got very deep knowledge in the area of cybersecurity, and he has a training organization that does really phenomenal training. In fact, Shiv and a number of us have been sitting at his feet, learning just an incredible amount. He does it at 7 a.m. my time, so it's worth getting up and attending that. Um, but one of the things that Jorg was working on, and we'll probably talk about it a little more, is we recently created a paper called "The Impact of Cryptocurrency Adoption on Government." So one of the working groups, and Rob, I don't know, is Mark Montoya going to speak on that subject a little bit later? Do you know? I'll wait for Rob to.
Yes, yeah, he's in the schedule for later today.
All right. So if you have any questions about cryptocurrency, about the security of it, about you know, how it works or anything like that, by all means reach out to Jorg, because he's an incredible expert on that and very well connected all through Europe. So that's just a couple words I want to say about Jorg and some of the stuff that they're doing.
thank you, Gerard, for covering that because you all couldn't join. So I think it's good that you provided an update from his behalf. I am looking for Jovan if he's here. Uh, if not, then I think we can open for questions because I'm done from my side with respect to the presentation.
Can I, before you move on, can I just say one or two things with regard to Priya, actually? Priya, I got off the phone yesterday with I'm not going to divulge too much information on this, but with somebody from a major U.S. government agency. They are a GBA, a brand new GBA member, and he asked me for the names of other GBA members in their agency and other members in the EPA and across the government because he wants to start a pilot project, a public-private partnership focusing on environmental compliance. And so I put him in touch with members of the House, the Senate, the GSA, the EPA, other members of his organization, and we're collecting folks together to see if we can launch a strategic project across a couple of different working groups that involve grant management, contract management, your sustainability group, and to see if we can do essentially a cross agency environmental compliance project that will involve both the federal and also local and state environmental agencies. So I will wrap you into that conversation as soon as we get some firm dates about pulling things together. And ideally, we would possibly have that underneath your leadership, working with some of the other working groups. So this would be a strategic project where we would involve multiple working groups, but it would be led primarily by by one working group. And again, this is in line with the president's mandates on environmental justice. So basically, the Biden administration has put a lot of money and effort and priority on the concept of the environment and environmental justice. And this would be a project that would help implement that vision or that national priority across multiple agencies. So I'm really excited about working with you on that.
Oh, yes, thank you, Gerard, so much. This is exciting news. Equally excited to participate.
Sure, and yeah, so let's touch base maybe after this conference tomorrow. And then Ismail, I'm super excited about the work that you're doing, the participation that you're doing with the blockchain maturity model, right, which is a global standard that we're doing. And I know Mayapan's going to be talking about this a little bit later, so I don't want to steal any of his thunder, but on the first week in August, I think it's maybe August 3rd or August 8th, we're inviting people from different standards organizations around the world to come together and share with each other the terminology, the standards, whatever they're doing, so that we can harmonize, so that as GBA is building our blockchain standards, it's in concert and in sync with the ISO, I think it's 307 Technical Committee and ACT-IAC and NATBA and all of these other organizations. We ought to be harmonizing our standards work. And again, GBA is taking a global leadership role in bringing people together, right? So Ismail, I'm immensely grateful for your participation.
Yes, it's ISO 307. Gerard, ISO 307 just published the terminology, the vocabulary. As head of the Spanish delegation in this particular committee, I can help a lot. And there are a couple of things that are pending to be reviewed because of other transversal technologies like artificial intelligence committee and IoT committee. So yes, count on my support on that particularities.
Yeah, the nut that we're trying to crack right now, and if anybody has thoughts about this, we'd love to hear about it. We're trying to come up with a standard for decentralization, right? So our model, as Mayapan will talk about, has 5 levels, and there's a bunch of different things in it, but one of them is about immutability, right? And we're trying to define what are the standards for immutability for levels 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And right now we're talking about the idea of it's based on the number of nodes and the consensus algorithm, right? And we're trying to do the math to figure, what's the objective criteria at each level for an appropriate degree of decentralization for the purpose of immutability. So we've been having fascinating conversations in that weekly call. And Ismail, you're a very important part of that.
Thank you. Just one note, 23635 is the governance guidelines in ISO 307 that is almost approved. Is pending of the period to be published now in the last revision for comments, but it is about the governance, the guidance of governance. And over there are a couple of notes you mentioned here in Gerard, so for sure.
Excellent. And then Shiv and Rob, I just put a little link in the chat. If anybody would like to come on stage and ask a question, make a comment, I just gave them the Zoom link. So Jordan, you can keep your eyes and ears open for that.
Okay, thank you, Gerard. And I think Johan is also here now. I would like him to say a few words because he's playing a very crucial role in kind of reactivating Europe and basically in shaping the leadership here. Johan, do you want to say a few words?
To say that Europe has done a phenomenal job getting on the reactivation. We now have, say, in Europe, we always had UK chapter was active, Spanish chapter was active, German chapter was active, but now we reactivated Ireland. We are onboarding a series of new chapters and activating them, and we have a number of chapters lined up. Shiv can talk more about it. What I'm saying is now, based on the success of Europe, we are creating a global task force that is going to also assist in the reopening of other chapters and on developing repeatable processes for not only recruiting but also engaging with members, engaging with chapters, and ensuring member success in every geography. Over.
Thank you, Johan.
Yes, and yes, Middle East. I said Middle East and Africa will be working now closer with Europe during this reopen the world phase. All right.
Perfect. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments that anybody else would like to pitch in for?
While we're waiting to see if anybody else does, Shiv, I would like to say something about you that a lot of people don't know. And this kind of goes back into our history a little bit. When we first started GBA, the London chapter was probably the first international chapter that we had. And it was started and led by a couple that were just wonderful people, Tommy Jammett and his wife, and they did a phenomenal job of getting people together, kind of building the GBA brand, and really did a great job. And then there was a transition, right? So people kind of come and go in an organization. And Shiv stepped in and completely was absolutely transformational in any kind of change is hard because everybody in that chapter really loved Tommy and his wife, and it was really great. So somebody coming in kind of from the outside, there's always a little bit of challenge in the transition. And Shiv did an amazing job of meeting people, socializing, really building people up, developing networks, and has demonstrated and contributed to this community in a way that is just above and beyond expectations. So Shiv, I'd like to thank you for your leadership in Europe, and I just wish you and your company, Earth ID, the most incredible success, because you've really worked hard and you really deserve it.